Hey there, my name is Craig Carton, and welcome to The Comeback. As a responsible gaming ambassador for FanDuel and someone who has personally navigated the challenges of gambling addiction, I understand the impact it can have on your life and the lives of those you care about. The road to recovery isn't easy, but I've committed myself to helping others who are facing similar struggles. At The Comeback, we aim to amplify real stories of those who've experienced the highs and lows of gambling addiction. We're here to break down the stigma surrounding gambling disorder, the support and resources needed to help individuals and their families, and show that recovery is possible. My mission is to inspire hope, offer support, and remind everyone that the path to regaining control starts with understanding. Welcome to The Comeback. All right, welcome to another edition of The Comeback with Craig Carton, and great to have Greg here joining us, a fellow gambler in recovery. So interested to hear your story, and I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Craig. I appreciate it.
So we start all these by first asking, when was your last wager? And then we'll kind of go backwards from there.
Yeah, so my last bet was February of 2020.
All right, so you're coming in on, you just passed 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yep.
Congratulations. You got to be proud of that. I'm proud of you. I'm sure life is much better today than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, a lot of free mental space and mental clarity now, and life is 10 times better, I would say.
So let's tell your story a little bit. How old were you when you first got exposed to gambling, way before it became any kind of problem?
Yeah, so my story is kind of similar to a lot that you may have heard. I was 13 years old, so Chris Moneymaker ends up winning the World Series of Poker.
Poker win, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard this one before, right?
Everybody decided that night, myself included, it's easy. I can win the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, so he was just a run-of-the-mill, everyday guy. He had a normal job. It's on ESPN one day. I love sports. I'm watching ESPN with all my buddies, and I was immediately hooked, right? So this guy beats out a bunch of professionals, wins $1 million, and he creates this poker dream that if he can do it, why can't I?
Yeah, I mean, he beat everybody. Every big name you think of, Phil Hellmuth and his ilk of professional poker players, and he came in. It was more than $1 million. It was a lot of money, but it made every regular guy who played maybe a Friday night game with his buddies all of a sudden think, why can't I be Chris Moneymaker? And I hear that story more than any other story. But before we get into what happened to you from that point on, were you already gambling? Were you a casino guy? Were you a sports gambler? And then that was just a tipping point? Or did that event lead you to start gambling?
Yeah, that was the start for me because I was 13 years old at the time. So we started having these poker games in the backyard with my friends, like you said, $5 games as a 13-year-old. And that was the start for sure. I got into a lot of more forms like sports betting, pretty much everything after that, but that was the kickoff for me.
So if you start at 13, you're obviously, you don't have your own money, other than maybe an allowance, or you do some errands for your old man or your family around the house, a couple bucks in the bank. How quickly did poker or any type of gambling start becoming more than just a, hey, once a month in a buddy's backyard type of thing?
Yeah, so I think it really kind of started when I was 18, the summer before heading off to Rutgers to college. I wasn't going to play sports in college anymore, and I was kind of leaning more towards gambling. I just loved everything about it, and it wasn't legal yet here in New Jersey, but you could gamble on sites like PokerStars, Full Tilt Poker, where they were based kind of overseas, and I could do that at 18. So
right.
I start playing daily, and I end up getting a big win at 18 years old.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I won $50,000 when I was 18
Wow.
in a poker tournament, and that was like, okay, this is maybe something that I could do because I'm having success
which is,
with
by
it.
the way, for an 18-year-old, I know looking back, it seems like a crazy thought. I'm going to be a professional gambler, and I'm only 18 years old and haven't started at Rutgers yet. And 50 grand's a lot of money. I don't care how old you are. My first question would be, what did you do with the 50K?
Yeah, so I remember calling my dad that day. He was a fireman. He was working at the firehouse, and he didn't believe me. And he was like, listen, we're going to take some of this money out of here, right? So they took about half of it, put it away, but they also allowed me to keep some of it. And I had access to that money in my bank account. So,
which, by the way, is a normal thing to do. He protected you with some of the money, put it away because your dad knows the deal. You're not going to win every time you play. But the kid showed some ability to win a tournament, So let's not kill the dream. It was that kind of, I assume, relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he had no reason to worry at that time, and he did the right thing. Like, he put some money away for me where I couldn't touch it, and he let me kind of have some because it was my money.
So then I got to assume after a win like that, you're 18, there's got to be a level of cockiness. Jersey kid, 18 years old, 50K win. You must have thought that day, my poop don't stink. I'm now the greatest poker player alive, and I'm just going to prove to everybody how good I am.
That's 100% how I felt. And, throughout that time at Rutgers, I was playing more and more. And then, it kept kind of happening. On my 21st birthday, a lot of guys wanted to go out to the bars to drink. But for me, I wanted to go down to Atlantic City because now I could gamble legally. And I end up winning another one on my 21st birthday. So it's just happening over and over. And I'm having success. So I'm thinking, like, why can't I do this?
Yeah, I think it's important to discuss that aspect of it for a second. And I have a different but somewhat similar story with blackjack, where for a long period of time I did win more than I lost. And I've dramatic losses. But I'm not the stereotypical story of every time I played blackjack I lost and lost all my life savings playing blackjack. I lost everything by making other bad decisions and putting my money in places I never should have. But blackjack, which was the impetus to making bad decisions, I had some great memories and great moments and great wins playing blackjack, which is hard for a lot of people to understand. Because most people think, all right, you're a gambler, you're a compulsive gambler, you had to go to rehab, you lost everything, you were the worst card player in town, and your story, mine, somewhat similar, it was really the exact opposite.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing with gambling. Even if you're not the best gambler, there is rewards, right? You're going to win gambling, and some people are going to have more success than others. But my problem came where I wasn't able to stop gambling at one point where if I'm winning, I want to keep winning more. If I'm losing, I definitely want to win that money back.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's hard for people who don't gamble the way we gamble to understand that there does come a point in all of our lives gambling where the amount of money no longer matters. The win no longer matters. The loss no longer matters. You just want to play. And while you're playing, you feel great. And the minute you're done playing in any particular day, you want to start playing again. Similar, I assume?
100%. Yeah, like the entirety of my days, throughout my 20s, around my work schedule. I'm a firefighter here in New Jersey, so do a 24-hour shift. 3 days off in between those work shifts. So, amazing job for me now to be able to be here and talk to you today, but not the best job for me in my 20s when I had all that free time. It's legalized now in New Jersey. Atlantic City is an hour away, so it's just at my fingertips.
So it's interesting. So you follow in your dad's footsteps. You became a firefighter, which means you're brave, and we owe a debt of gratitude to your service, obviously, because you're the guy that runs the other way. When we're running away from a problem, I also know what the life of a firefighter in Jersey is like. I have a lot of buddies who are firefighters. There's a lot of downtime, meaning there's a lot of card playing, a lot of gambling, even if it's stupid gambles, amongst the guys, like raindrops falling down a window. You will find something to gamble on. So I wonder, did guys in the firehouse at any point say, hey, Greg, we all gamble, but what you're doing doesn't seem right?
Yeah, it's a great question, Craig, because nobody really saw that. I didn't share how bad it had gotten. I shared the wins, right? So I'm in the group text at the firehouse. They're seeing me on TV playing poker, right? They're seeing the winning bets. They're not seeing the bad and all the negatives that come with it. It was just everybody loved it, right? It's like it's like a locker room, right? All the guys are doing it, and they think it's a cool thing to be gambling.
So, look, at some point you got to experience losses. And I know firefighters aren't making millions of dollars. I know that all too well. So there had to be some moments where you're pressed, where you bet more than you had, you borrowed money, whatever the case may be. Give me an idea of, before we get to the worst moment that led you to get into recovery, give me an idea of the bad decisions you had to start making financially with money.
Yeah, so I'm thinking when I'm having this success in these poker tournaments that everything is just going to work out, right? I'm having these big wins. I win multiple tournaments during my 20s, but I'm just never able to hold on to that money, right? And then I'm losing six figures in a year gambling plus my salary. At this point, I still didn't think I had a problem. I just thought, hey, all it takes is one big week, one big day, and I'm going to be back, right? Because why not? It's been happening over and over in the past. So at that point, I wasn't really borrowing or stealing because I still had access to money.
Okay.
But towards the end, it got really bad where I did do some of those things.
Do you mind talking about the things you did?
No. So I had a big tournament win in 2017 where I won close to $500,000
Wow.
In a poker tournament down in Atlantic City. And this was like my dream when I started gambling, right? I maybe wanted to go to Vegas and win millions, but
for $500,000
for a 27-year-old,
mortgage.
pretty damn good, right? Right around this time, my mom developed pancreatic cancer, and now it's like a whirlwind because I'm gambling as a way to escape from her being sick. Like, I can't come to terms with it. And throughout that next year, I lost every single dollar of that money that I won in 1 year. And my mom passed away less than a year later, May 26, 2018. And I had lost every single dollar by that point. And you would think that would be the end of the story. That would be
probably
it.
just the beginning.
But it wasn't, right? Because I never sought help for my addiction. I didn't even view it as an addiction like alcohol, like drugs.
Was that, looking back with clarity, that's just ego?
For sure. Yeah, I had this huge ego. I'm sure you can relate at the time. Like, I was known as the poker player and the gambler, right? That's what everybody saw me as, but they had no idea of the damage I was doing.
Yeah, because we hide it, and there's no blood test for it, there's no drug test for it, there's no urine test. And I could stand here right here and tell you, look you dead in the eye, man to man, and tell you, I've never gambled a day in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. I win all the time. And the sad part of that is we all get really good at the lie. And look, I sat next to 5 guys, in this building, literally 3 feet away from each other for 10 years. And while I'm gambling at 3 o'clock in the morning, whether it's in Koreatown and underground games or in casinos at 2 o'clock in the morning, they knew I liked to gamble. They had no idea how often I was gambling, no idea the amounts of money I was gambling until it all played out. And obviously for me, it played out quite publicly. So when you're in the middle of it and you lose everything, you didn't just stop. So now at some point, you're going to try to find money some other manner, I imagine.
Yeah, so for the next 2 years, I was able to stop on my own for maybe a month or so. Like everything, I'm the guy, I'm going to white knuckle it. Like, I'm going to just do this on my own. For the next 2 years after that, I hit it, right? So I'm living with my girlfriend in Hoboken. My grandparents don't know. My dad doesn't know. But I'm gambling all the time. And by the time I had to quit in 2020, I had 7 personal loans, maxed out all my credit cards, over 6 figures of debt, borrowing, anything
So you're
you
drowning
think of. Drowning, yes. I had no more access to money. Like, that's why I had to stop gambling. Couldn't get another dollar.
Right, that's the weird thing. Like, when you get to, your 5 years, thank God, in recovery, I'll be 7 coming up in a couple weeks, knock on wood. You don't stop because you want to. You stop for a variety of reasons. None of it's because you just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm done gambling. It's either you ain't got no money, you break the law and get caught, some version of those 2 stories. But no one ever just wakes up, I don't care if you won or lost, and goes, after spending all this time gambling, I'm going to move on to playing tennis. Like, we don't just do that.
No, it just doesn't happen. I remember having moments of clarity within there where I would lose a ton of money. I'm emailing some of these websites and saying, please ban me. And then the next morning I'm waking up saying, hey, somebody else sent that email. Like, that wasn't me.
Put a couple bucks in my account for free.
Can I get my VIP bonus, right? That's how I'm thinking.
Yeah, I wagered on an illegal site, which it turned out was based in Malta. It was called Black Diamond Casino. And they had agents in Vegas, I found out about later, when they sent a 65-inch TV screen to my house to thank me for losing all the money I lost. My wife goes, who sent us a TV? I'm like, I got no idea, but we're keeping it. But, that was a site where even when I thought I was done, I tried to convince myself I was done, 100%, I would email or text whoever I was texting or emailing, hey, why don't you put a couple extra bonus bucks in my account and I'll start playing blackjack again. Like, I was on a vacation in Puglia, Italy, with my wife and another couple, and I was up $100,000 playing online blackjack, and obviously left the country with nothing. And then you're down to zero. Hey, put $2,000 in the account. Like, $2,000 was going to mean something. For you, though, there had to be. So you have a girlfriend at the time. Girlfriend has any idea? She noticed that you're acting differently, or being strange or hiding stuff, or no?
She probably noticed it, and her first experience with me, one of our first dates was her at the final table of that poker tournament that was going to be televised. So that's what she knew. She was in from the beginning, but she had no idea of the damage that I was doing. She had no idea of the money we were supposed to be saving to buy a house. I was supposed to be saving to buy a ring for her, and meanwhile, I'm blowing all of that money behind her back. So she probably knew something was up, but she never questioned me about it. And
So
she had no
no
idea.
one ever came to you and said, there's something wrong, let's talk. Like, people knew you gambled, you were the poker guy, but you hit it so well, nobody ever said, hey, Greg, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, the crazy thing is, like you said, I think we become world-class liars.
For sure.
Like that, everything that I did on a daily basis was to hide the fact that I was blowing all of my money and obsessed with gambling, right? And I was able to hide it from the people that were closest to me.
Did it have any impact on you being a firefighter, looking back on it?
Yeah, it definitely did. So I'm taking, actually just took a promotional exam last week. I'm third on the list right now. So I didn't take my job as seriously as I do. I didn't view it in the same way. I kind of just viewed it as a paycheck, unfortunately. And now it's a complete 180. You know, I love my job. I love helping people, and just going to work is actually fun for me now. Yeah.
So give us the bottom of the barrel moment. Like we said, nobody just decides one day, all right, I need help, I'm going to go get help. It's usually either it's a horrendous loss, someone finds out and you're caught, that type of deal. It's usually a spouse or a girlfriend or a loved one. But what was your bottom of the barrel moment that made you wake up the next day and say, today's the day I go find help and take it seriously?
Yeah, so I remember that day in February of 2020, sitting in a ShopRite parking lot in New Jersey, just max betting on blackjack. And I think it was a Friday, so I could actually overdraw my account because it wouldn't go through until the Monday.
Right.
And I knew that. So, you know, I'm in a negative bank account balance, and I click all the other loans, have no more access to any money. At this point, you know, I'm thinking either I'm going to end my life or I have to come clean. And I remember texting my dad that day. He said, you need to get help for this.
Yeah.
Had to text my girlfriend who was at work. She told me, get out of our apartment.
If you don't mind me asking, what did you text?
I told her I lost everything. And my dad had known that I had kind of been up and down with gambling. He'd helped me out in the past, right?
Sure.
So when I told my girlfriend that, she told me, leave, get out of our apartment, I got to think about this. And I went to my first GA meeting that night, which was set up through my work union, which was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, the
right?
first one sucks. The second one's worse.
Yeah, I couldn't believe there was 25 other people in the world that were doing what I was doing.
Did you?
Know?
It's funny, when I went to my first GA meeting, because I did not want to go, and I'm a little bit different, where like I had people ask me for my autograph at GA meetings, which to me defeated the whole point of the A, right? GA. I really, it killed me when that happened. Because I know, and then in subsequent meetings, I know people, when people recognize you, like you just do. So I found a meeting in the basement of a church at 6 o'clock in the morning on like a random Tuesday in East Bum, New Jersey. And I walk in, there's 9 people in there. I'm like, damn it, I thought I'd be the only one. And I shopped around until I found a room that ultimately I went to for a couple of years where it just felt better than some of the early rooms. And it sucked. Like, those early meetings stink.
Yeah, it's not great knowing that, hey, like, I'm going to have to go into this room and tell everybody about how much I messed up.
Yeah.
Right? And my life is just in complete shambles. I'm going into that meeting, I'm crying in the parking lot before I'm going into the meeting as a 30-year-old man,
Yeah.
right? So it's a tough experience for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I don't want to pay lip service to it, I think it's important for a lot of people watching, that you contemplate, even if it's fleeting, hey, maybe waking up tomorrow, maybe I don't want to do that. And I wondered if you ever gave that any serious thought.
Yeah, so I would say there's multiple instances, on that drive home, that hour drive from Atlantic City down to where I was living, that I really contemplated just turning that steering wheel right off the highway, right off the parkway, right? I never made a plan for it, but there was definitely moments of despair and depression where I felt like I didn't deserve to be here,
Sure.
and people closest to me would be better off without me.
Was there any point, and again, maybe not in the moment, but looking back on it, when the jig is up and you have to talk to your old man, which I'm sure is a hard conversation, and you text your girlfriend, her reaction is guttural, like, get the F out of our apartment, like, I got to think about this. Did you have any feeling of relief that it was over?
I think people that aren't in it like we were in it aren't going to understand this, but there was a huge sense of relief that I don't have to do this anymore.
I don't have to lie anymore.
I don't have to lie. I don't have to gamble. I don't have to have this feeling anymore. It was a big sense of relief that just, hey, this is over right now.
And when you stopped and you went to that first GA meeting, a lot of people would start again at some point because it was such a big part of our lives. How do you just stop cold turkey? Was it since that day when you went to GA, Did you gamble at any other time since then?
Yeah, so I used that as my clean date, but I did have a relapse right around my wedding in 2022. You know,
And you married the girlfriend?
we got married, so she's a much
Good.
better person than I am to stick
No
with
doubt.
me through all of it,
No
man.
doubt,
Like
no
I
doubt.
owe her
She's a saint.
debt forever. She is a saint.
Yeah.
And I love her. But right before our wedding, you know, weddings are tough. It's not always stressful money-wise, money concerns, and I'm thinking my brain tricks me back into like, hey, I can make a quick buck if I get back in on this poker site. And I relapsed for a couple days prior to that. Had to come clean again, and then it's just like, okay, we have to rebuild this trust kind of all over again.
And that doesn't happen overnight. And people need to know that also. It's great to stop gambling. It's great to get into recovery and get help. That doesn't solve every problem you got overnight. And a lot of us want it to, but we leave such a trail and a wake of hurt behind us and a lack of trust and all that stuff, where it is great that we're getting help. And once you're doing it for real, like you've done for 5 years now, and I'm going into almost 7, it just because we've now decided we're good, we're getting help. We hurt people for so long, it doesn't fix those problems overnight.
100%. And, you know, the affected others aspect is what some people might not even think about, where all the damage that you do, and it just takes time to build that trust back up. You know, and your word doesn't mean anything because you lied for so long, and it just takes the actions and showing that you're doing the right thing.
Is there any part of you over the last 5 years that, even to this day, that misses it even a little bit?
I'd be lying if I said no. I know there's certain things that I get triggered by. I can watch sports again. And I actually love watching sports just for the sports now, which is interesting, right? Like, I don't got to watch Hawaii at 11 o'clock on a Saturday anymore.
Right.
I could just
Can't
watch.
name a single guy on the roster, but I got money on it.
I could just watch the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Or I could just watch my favorite teams. But, you know, if I do see a clip, and it's impossible to avoid these days, if I see a clip from a poker tournament, it gets the juices flowing.
And it brings you back to some of the best moments you had.
100%. Like those rushes that I felt during those times, like I have never felt things like that since, right?
So I wonder, and as we're getting ready to wrap this up, and obviously we could talk forever about our experiences, and you notice that neither one of us are really talking too much about money, because we don't want to glorify the amounts of money, but they're outrageous. I don't care how much money you make. There's a lot of young people, unfortunately, it's the fastest growing part of the population that is gambling, and now is gambling problems, right? Kids in 18 to 23 years old are finding a way to gambling, and it's the first time they've done it, so a lot of those kids can't handle it. Now that you're 5 years into recovery, and you're in a really good place, and you're not gambling anymore, you go into a room, 19-year-old kid comes in, 22-year-old kid comes in, and you get them one-on-one. What's for you been the best piece of advice you can give to somebody who's at day one of this? Because the way I always describe it, day one, the walls are caving in. You contemplate not waking up in the morning. I did as well. What advice do you give somebody who's literally at day one?
Yeah, so the crazy thing is we're seeing more and more in my recovery group of that age demographic, 18 to 23, young men specifically, right? And I can't believe that they've understood the fact that they have a problem at that age, right? It took me 17 years of gambling, and it might have taken them 5. But
good point.
The access and how much it's in their face, like it's obviously going to speed up the process. But I always just tell them, if it's taking up more time than you want it to, if you can't set a limit on how long you're going to play, if you can't set a limit on how much money you're going to spend, if you can't walk away after losing your $50, right? Those are big concerning factors, where if it's totally all you think about on a daily basis, then there's a good chance that they're having a problem.
I think that's great advice. The other advice I give, especially kids who aren't 21 yet, which means they're gambling through an older brother's account, a mom's account, a dad's account. And I have some experience where some kids I'm counseling right now, where mom or dad set up an account for them because they think it's great bonding. Kid loves sports, I love sports. Together we'll put $20 on a football game, and it's pure, and they mean it only to have good things happen. But then they lose sight of the fact that the account is open. The kid has access to the account, so the kid's now going to gamble without mom or dad sitting on the couch next to him. And I've experienced that with my friends, and I try to tell them all the time, no. Like, if you want to have a friendly little $5 wager, father to son, great, enjoy that. Do not open up an account that you give your teenage son or daughter access to, because 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you where that's going to wind up, and it ain't going to be a good thing.
100%. And I know you've said this in the past too, but if one of these young kids isn't willing to take that step and exclude themselves from
Right.
these websites, which you can do in New Jersey, you can do in all these states, which it took
And
me.
you did it online in 30 seconds.
And it took me a long time to press that button. Like, I stared at that screen and I was
me
like,
too.
this a lifetime ban from I'm never gonna be able to do this again. And it's a tough thing to actually to pill to swallow. But if you're not willing to actually take that step, then I don't know if you're ready to be in
Right, and
recovery.
there's something that guys like you and I can help them with. Like, we can sit here, be willing 24/7. Here's my phone. You call me. I'm ready to help you. But if you haven't self-excluded, then you're not ready for the help. It means it's just still in your system, and unfortunately, you're probably going to gamble again. So, look, I'm proud of you, man. I know it's not easy at the beginning to talk about the worst parts of your life, but the fact 5 years later, you're willing to be a voice for this community is awesome. And I would think your wife today is proud of the man she married.
She is, and thank you for saying that. I'm proud of you too, Craig. It's a completely different life now. You know, I have a 2-year-old son at home.
Awesome.
We're expecting another in November.
Congratulations.
Like you said, life's not always easier, but I'm present, I'm there, and I'm kind of handling life as it comes, and it's just way better than it was.
And life's so much easier not having to look over your shoulder, who you borrowed money from, who you owe money to, not even bad people, like friends, because it forever alters those relationships also. So you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Craig. I appreciate it.
That's Greg, and this is The Comeback on FanDuel TV. Here at The Comeback, we highlight the real challenges of problem gambling and the resources available to help. One important resource we want to talk about today is self-exclusion. If you're struggling with gambling or concerned you might be in the future, self-exclusion allows you to voluntarily block access to gambling online or in person for a set period of time or permanently. These programs are offered by licensed operators and state gaming commissions and can be accessed online by phone, at retail locations, or through mobile apps. You can elect to self-exclude for a set period of time from 3 years to lifelong. The exclusion then applies across products at the given operator or location, or across all operators within a given state. Now, in addition to being restricted from accessing an application or a physical location, operators will block their direct marketing from reaching you, the individual. FanDuel, like all other licensed operators, maintains a robust platform-wide self-exclusion program. This means that anyone who self-excludes in one state will be barred from wagering on FanDuel in any state and on any product that FanDuel offers. Upon self-exclusion, FanDuel offers support to customers, including subsidized membership to services like Kindbridge Behavioral Health, a telehealth provider with a focus on disordered gambling, and Gamban, a software tool to block access to online gambling sites and apps. If you or a loved one are concerned about your gambling habits, please consider the option of self-exclusion. Visit FanDuel.com/RG or call 1-800-GAMBLER and request more information about your state's self-exclusion program. Thank you.